Imperial Lounge presents an icon.
Reggae dancehall by the beach. To be held at Imperial Lounge, 2 to 14 High Street, Margate Seafront, Kent, CT9 180. To be held on the first Saturday of each month. Your host DJ Matt. Also rotating DJs, Roddy Boone, DJ Happy,
and Younger General.
Doors open 8 p.m. till late. Free entry all night. Music policy, reggae, dancehall, and a touch of soul. On the first Saturday of each month. Reggae dancehall by the beach. At the Imperial Lounge Margate. Do remember, you can also get VIP and shisha booking. More info on the World Jam Global website. That's www.worldjamglobal.com. Also www.imperialloungemargate.co.uk.
See you there.
It's the right thing you doing. Rebellious like Malcolm. 1, 2, 3, swing it.
Have an old sound tape or your favorite cassette tape that you want converted to CD or MP3 format? Do you need a demo CD, radio ad, a DJ or even a sound system for your wedding, birthday or special occasion? Then why not get in contact with KTR Records on 07931 152 448 or check out our website on www.ktrrecords.com. We have been in business since 2004 and also undertake community projects. So for your remixes, dubplates and all your sound editing needs, why not contact KTR Records, official sponsor of World Jam Global Radio. KTR Records, coming your way. Do you like music like this?
Great music all the time.
Or like this?
The music you love.
Maybe this.
Great music that makes you want to turn up the volume loud.
Or life check like this.
Especially where human life is concerned. Surely, sooner or later, people will realize that lives actually matter.
Then you're in the right place. Keep it locked to World Jam Global, where music is harmony.
Music 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah, you're a World Jam. Hotter than them.
See live schedule.
You see, it's here. You see. New feature coming from World Jam Global Radio in 2018. World Jam Global Top 10. To vote for your favorite artist, go to twitter.com/World Jam Global or facebook.com/World Jam Global. So pick the right track where you want to have in your car, at your house, a rock. At them.
Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Back in the day, I didn't really care about the system. It was all about survival. It was do or die. I had too many rivals. I was too young and foolish to stay in school. I learned my lessons in the streets. There was not a man I couldn't beat. I was good with my hands and very quick on my feet. I was swimming in women. I had girls all over the street. I was getting money. Life was so sweet. Nothing's changed. The whole game has been rearranged. I'm a changed man. Don't need no gun in my hand. It ain't about.
I want to say a big good evening going out to everybody right across the globe. My name is Kervin Julien, and it's time for another edition of our issues today on World Jam Global Radio. And we do have a guest, Jacqueline Kendrick Johnson, the mother of Kendrick Johnson. The theme of today's show, this was no accident. The Kendrick Johnson mystery. Stand by for another exclusive and live interview coming up very shortly.
I was a drug dealer so sold more drugs than Superfly, but I never got high on my own supply. I'm not proud of what I had to do. That's why I'm telling my story to you and you. I had to repent, I must admit, I was doing all kind of stupid shit. Now sit back and think it over since I've gotten older. The life I used to live, I wouldn't do it again. I was young and dumb, my brain was so numb. I was a real Forrest Gump, but I was no.
I want to say a big good evening going out to my friends right across the globe, especially the United States of America. Sandra Dawn, I see you.
Spit you out like a real alligator, especially all.
And you can catch Sandra Dawn as a great gospel singer.
Statements are going on right now. He could be facing life.
Live on my gospel show tomorrow morning. But tonight, we have a very special edition of Issues Today on World Jam Global Radio as we revisit the Kendrick Johnson mystery.
Did my time.
I remember we covered this show a couple of years ago and we were absolutely flooded with trolls and all sorts of idiot people who were... It's one of the reasons why I don't do Twitter anymore, but and in fact David Piercy turned up on my
I paid for my crime
on my feed this morning and I had to block him again
so I can get my life on track and have the right to vote and live like an ordinary citizen again. This is my message.
But I'm glad to say
in the pen.
The show is going ahead.
World,
we are live.
There was
and I was going to say Jackie Kennedy for a minute. I don't know why I always think of Jackie Kennedy when I'm thinking of Jacqueline
all over the street.
Johnson.
Getting money, life is so.
Maybe the names are so similar. We have a very serious interview to do indeed.
Man, don't need no gun.
With some of the latest threats.
Life is too short to spend it all.
And a live update on where we are with the investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson, whose life was sadly taken.
Did my time, I paid for my crime.
In what would be considered as a real mother's nightmare. You don't send your children to go to school.
Already did my time, I paid for my crime.
To turn up dead.
Already did my time, I paid for my crime. I was a drug dealer, sold more drugs than Superfly, but I never got high on my own supply. I'm not proud of what I had to do. That's why.
Come on, I want you to use this time as we start the show.
I must admit.
So share this live stream right across the world.
Sit back and think it over since
on every group that you're involved with. Black Lives Matter.
I was young and dumb, my brain was so numb. I was a real
National Association Against Police Brutality.
Me and Billy.
I've shared it on all of these. You share it on your groups. Share it amongst your friends.
Schwarzenegger, I chew you up.
Let's leave no stone unturned as we try to unravel the truth in how Kendrick, a very young Kendrick Johnson, lost his life on that very tragic day.
I paid for my crime, already did my time.
The opening statements are going on right now. He could be facing life in prison.
On January 11th, 2013, on a Friday morning, the body of Kendrick, 17 years old, Kendrick Johnson, was found inside Loudons County High School, old gymnasium, and the school was immediately in a lockdown. We're going to take up the story with Jacqueline Johnson very shortly.
Trying to cope with this living hell.
Please stay with us.
This living hell, this living hell, this living hell. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
We're going to have Jacqueline Kendrick Johnson, live in just a few moments' time.
Pay for my crime. All those drive-by killings, stop them. It ain't about nothing. He who was out sin, let him cast the first stone. I'm trying to get this felony off my back so I can get my life on track and have the right to vote and live like an ordinary citizen.
We're so used to disruptions and interruptions and all kinds of interference. But we pray that the God that serves
those knives
will make sure that we are able to get our truth out today. My name is Kervin Julien and we're live on World Jam Global Radio. This is Issues Today, going out right across the world. Jackie Johnson coming up right after this. Okay. Hey, I hope that I've got Jackie on the end of the line as we speak live. I do believe you're driving around as we speak, and I'm hoping that you're going to find a nice spot where you can stop and we can really get this interview underway. Good evening, Jackie Kendrick Johnson.
Hello.
Hey, we can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up a little bit. We've got a lot of interference, okay. Jackie. Is there any way that you can get yourself into a much quieter spot where the audience can hear you and we can really unravel this truth behind Kendrick's death?
I might have to go in another room, but this is about quiet as it's gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we hear on this microphone, everything that I can hear on these headphones, I can guarantee you is going to be... There's some noise going on in the background. We just really need to get that quiet, whatever it is. I can hear like a motor, an engine or something. Whatever it is, it's very loud, and it's louder than okay, are you there? Hello, Jackie? Jackie, are you there? It looks like we've lost her. Hello, Jackie, talk to me. Are we there? Sorry, you're going to have to excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We've done the live, we've done the test call. It worked, but I'm not sure why people choose to try and do this thing on the road. We really need to really get a very quiet thing going on here. And at the minute, I've lost Jacqueline Johnson. Okay. Okay, hi, Jackie.
Hello?
Hi, Jackie, are you there? Okay. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hardly even hear you, so I don't know if it's where I'm at or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear you. There's a lot of noise in the background. But we're going to have to try and do this and try and get the show on the go. We've got people listening all over the world, and they're desperate to hear the update on what's happening with Kendrick and how he died, etc. Those that haven't heard the story before. But I'm hoping that you're going to be able to share it with us as best you can. First of all, can you just introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself? Hi, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. You're going to have to bear with me, folks, as I call her again. I think we'll just try and do this again and see if we can get a better line. Whatever you hear, whatever I hear, you hear.
Hello?
Okay, hi, Jackie, are you there? Can you hear us, Jackie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jackie, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Gosh.
Jackie, you're going to need some headphones in there. Yeah, you're going to need some headphones in or something, otherwise you're not going to be able to hear. Do you not have a pair of headphones?
I have headphones on.
Right, we'll turn your volume up. Can you hear us better now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. So, Jackie, can you just introduce yourself to the audience, please? Just tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and why you're here.
I'm the mother of 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson. I'm from Valdosta, Georgia. I drove school buses for 13 years for the county, Lowndes County school system, the system that let my family down, the school system of where my son was killed in their high school. I have well, I had 4 kids. I have two that's deceased, and I have two that's alive.
Okay. Um, and that's just a little bit about yourself. You're married, I take it.
Six.
Is your husband with you?
Six. Yes, he is.
Okay, so you're both there, and I mean, I'm not sure why you guys decided to do this outside. It'd have been a lot more quieter had you done this inside somewhere. But you know, we're gonna try. We're gonna try and get this show on the road if we can.
Okay.
So, on Friday morning, January 11th, 2013, the body of your son, 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson, was found inside Lowndes County High School at the old gymnasium. And before we discuss how he was found, tell us a little bit about Kendrick. What was he like growing up?
Kendrick was the baby boy of the family. He was funny. Kendrick was a character. He was quiet, but Kendrick didn't talk to many people, so he was peculiar, as my mama would call it. And as a child, all my children was close. Kendrick was the Kendrick used to do like the weirdest thing. Him and his sister, like he would wait till his sister be in there asleep after he would come home from school, and he would just go in there and dive on her back and make her so mad. And Kendrick would do just the little weirdest, little sneakiest, crazy little things. The love of his life was football. He had been playing football since he was 5 years old. He played as he grew older. He ran track, and he also played basketball. But football was passionate. He just knew in life that he was gonna make it into the pros with playing football. That was his passion. So I believe it's that being his passion that he was gonna he was gonna make it big as
we do have a very poor network connection at the moment, and I'm not sure if it's because where you are, the signal that you're getting, but we're getting a very terrible signal down this end with a lot of interference. Can you hear us at all, Jacqueline?
I hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. All right. So you talked about Kendrick liked a lot of sports. I mean, when you see the pictures, Kendrick was a very handsome young man as well, right? So I take it he was he probably didn't have much trouble with the ladies either, did he?
No. Oh, the ladies loved him. Yeah. He had all kind of ladies coming at him, but I don't think he didn't have one specific girlfriend. He just like to do a lot of fun things, as in going to the mall and just hanging out with his friends, like going out to eat and to the movies on the weekend. Kendrick wasn't a street child. He just liked that, just to have a little fun with the people that he was close and connected with.
I would imagine that he had a lot of friends.
Oh yes, everybody. Well, I'll say almost everybody loved Kendrick because he was just that type of person. He was lovable. I even had kids from the special ed classes. Even recently, just came to me and told me that, like, if they were having a bad day, Kendrick would come to them and he would talk to them and he would help them, like, get on the class and tell them that stuff was gonna be all right. Like things that I didn't even, couldn't imagine Kendrick doing. He was doing those things, and I was just like, he was that all around lovable kid.
So I would imagine that Kendrick going to school and you getting a call that your son was no longer alive must have come as a great shock to you.
Well, actually, I never got a call. I was at the schoolhouse because Kendrick had went missing on January the 10th, and he didn't come home. So it was so unusual for Kendrick not to get in touch with nobody in our family because we was all close. So if Kendrick, and he was the baby of the household, so know that we kept a close connect with him. So Kendrick never asked me could he go to the basketball game, like it was a basketball game in Lowndes High. So he used to ride the bus to the bus shop to get in the car with me. So Kendrick never came to the bus shop that day. So I asked his driver, where was Kendrick? She said, well, honey, he didn't get on the bus. So, you know, I'm thinking, okay, well, he stayed at a basketball game. It was a basketball game. But he's going to let somebody know that he's going to stay at that basketball, either me, my husband, or either one of my other kids if he didn't get in contact with me or my husband. To always let somebody know where Kendrick, where he's at.
All right,
So it
so
really didn't.
no, carry on,
Okay.
Jackie.
I was just going to say, like, at the beginning, it really didn't dawn on me that, he was missing. I was just like, he was at the basketball game, and he just haven't called nobody yet. So after about around 8 o'clock, I'm getting worried because I hadn't heard from Kendrick. So I began to call his dad and ask his dad, had he heard from Kendrick? He said no. And then so we got off the phone with each other, and we called our other kids and asked, and nobody had heard from Kendrick. So then I'm worried.
So the reason why you went to the school was because you hadn't heard from Kendrick. He hadn't called anybody. He hadn't come home that night, and you were worried. So you went to the school.
Right. I went to the school to see if Kendrick was gonna go to school that day, which I really knew that Kendrick didn't come home that night, that he wasn't gonna go to no school.
Okay, so then talk us through what happened when you got to the school. What happened? What happened next?
As I got to the school, they pointed me in the direction of the police, the resource officer that was on at school that day, and that was Mike Adams. So as I got to the school, talked with him, he was like, yeah, we know he's missing, and we're already looking for him. He had his file pulled up with his picture and everything on it. He said, so you can go ahead and go home, and we'll give you a call if he show up. And I was like, give me a call if he show up. So I left out of his office, and I went on over there to talk to the guidance counselor. I was talking to her about my daughter, so I began to ask her, did she know that Kendrick was missing? She was like, no, she hadn't heard. So she started calling kids out of class, asking them when was the last time they seen Kendrick, and someone was like third block, and they had one was like third block, and then he changed the story to fourth block. So it was just, all that. So as I'm sitting in the office, her phone began to ring, and some lady came on it, like your phone be up loud, you can hear what the other person said. She was like, they just found the body in the gym. So I'm sitting there in like complete, just out of it. Like, did she just say a body was found in the gym? And like the lady never said nothing. She was just talking around me like I wasn't sitting there, but trying not to say it in front of me. So she kept talking to the lady, and then as soon as she got the phone with the lady, she got up and go in the next room with the other ladies, and they all, talking, but they all looking in there at me. So I'm just sitting there like, God, my child. And then nobody has the decency to say nothing, So my sister was coming to get my grandson, and so she called me. She said, Jackie, why are all these ambulances and fire trucks and police out here? And I said, I don't know. So I started walking down. They was like, do you want me to carry the baby down? I was like, no, because he don't know y'all. So as I started walking down, I got a group of women, and I'm just looking crazy and still like, okay, I just heard them say that it's a dead child. So, I'm just like walking on down there and take him downstairs. And by the time I get out there, the other resource officer lady, which was the lady, she come up to me and she was like, where's your daughter? And I was like walking up. So I asked her, I said, is that my child they just found? And she was like, yeah. And that's just when I lost it.
Wow. But this was just, even in the wildest imagination, this was no ordinary accident, right? Because your child wasn't just found in a gymnasium. If your child was found, if Kendrick had been found lying down on the floor, if Kendrick had been found, sat down in the corner, if Kendrick had been found, in the corridor or something, it'd be half understandable. But Kendrick was found rolled up in a gym mat. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm really not sure where you are, Jacqueline, but the whole noise that you've got around you makes it very difficult for for us to really hear you very well. Yeah, could you not? Right, are you there? Hello, Jackie.
Huh?
Hello, Jackie.
Hey,
Okay, so can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay. So again, I was on about the way that Kendrick was found. He wasn't found sat on the floor. He wasn't found lying face down. He was found rolled up in a gym mat, right?
Yes.
So tell us what you know so far by what was explained. So when they said that they found Kendrick's body in the gymnasium, how did they explain that to you?
They told us that he was upside down. He fell into the mat, was upside down trying to retrieve a tennis shoe. And they say he had no physical bruises, no gunshot wounds, no stabbings, nothing. That
So what they and again, this is very difficult, and I know this must be very difficult for you to hear all over again. What they're asking you to believe is that Kendrick climbed on top of a rolled up gym mat that was stood upright to retrieve a shoe, his shoe, that was found, that was supposedly inside of the mat. And as he reached in to retrieve the shoe, he fell into the mat.
yes,
And when he fell into the mat, he was unable to get himself back out again because apparently he was upside down. And so he died of asphyxiation. That's the original explanation, right?
yes, that's the original explanation.
So, how much did Kendrick Johnson weigh? What was his weight at the time of his death, his average
Um,
weight?
I want to say between 170, 160 and 170.
Did anybody ever give you the weight of the gym mat?
Yeah, they said it was like, what, 50 to 60 pounds?
Okay. So the slightest movement from Kendrick's body weight should have been able to roll that mat over, right?
Right,
Dislodge it,
right.
displace it, bring it to the ground. Now, there are some other facts surrounding Kendrick's tragic loss of life, which at the time, while Kendrick was supposedly dying of asphyxia in a rolled up gym mat in the gymnasium of the school, am I wrong in believing that there was a basketball taking place, a basketball game, a game of ball?
Right.
So talk me through what you know was going on at the time, that Kendrick was supposed to have died alone inside a mat while there was a gymnasium full of kids playing basketball.
Well, first they told us that when Kendrick went in the gym, there was nobody in there. They said Kendrick came in and went to the right, and the little white kid came in and went to the left. But if they went to the right and to the left, they walked into a brick wall. Then they told us there was nobody in the gym with them. So then when they came out on the news, it showed that it was a gym full of students playing basketball on every court. So Kendrick went up there on top of those bleachers to get his tennis shoes out of a mat that he knew he couldn't reach the bottom of. Somebody would have seen him, because first of all, on the first interview, the young lady said feet were sticking out the mat when they found him, which was. Then Chef Prime said he wasn't in the mat. He said he was lying down on the floor.
Okay, let's go to the version that they're trying to get us to believe, and I'm really hoping that my audience are a lot more intelligent than some of the idiots that we've come across on Twitter over the last few years, and I'm sure
Oh
that
yeah.
you've been aware of most of that. We had it when we did the show with you a couple of years ago, and we had it again this morning. Which we've had to block a few people and delete their post. But what was Kendrick's level of education like? Was he good at maths? Was he a good graduate? Was he doing well in his studies?
He was a sophomore in school, and I'll say he was doing okay in school. He wasn't failing no subjects, so
So
I'm not gonna say he was on a roll.
so
But
the point I'm trying to make is Kendrick was a reasonably intelligent individual.
yes,
He was nobody's fool.
exactly.
He wasn't retarded. He didn't have learning difficulties. He wasn't struggling with any forms of mental health related issues, right?
Right.
So therefore, if Kendrick's shoe had gotten into a mat that was almost quarter of his weight, would it not be feasible, if not reasonable, to deduce that Kendrick would have probably just pulled the mat down and taken his shoe?
That's exactly what Kendrick would have done. Kendrick would have never got on no bleachers. He'd have took those mats and threw them down, got his shoes, and went on to class.
As simple as that. But yet they are asking you to believe that Kendrick climbed the mat, stood on top of it, and then went head first in to try and pull out a shoe that would have been down the bottom of the mat and got himself trapped.
Yes.
And was
That's what they want us to believe.
was unable, even though the mat was only quarter of his weight, was unable to unbalance himself in such a way that the mat would have fallen, or he was unable to shout, scream, or raise the alarm in a room full of people playing basketball in order to get himself rescued from this difficult position that he was in.
Right.
So
And
what's
of course,
go on?
I was just gonna say, of course, with kids being in there, somebody would have seen him going down in a mat.
Somebody would have seen him climb the mat. Somebody would have seen him
Right.
fall into the mat. Somebody would have seen him struggling to get out of the mat. And somebody would have been able to report or call for help if they weren't able to
Right.
support him himself. And it wouldn't have happened that Kendrick did not come home that night and you'd have been finding out the next morning. So, what do you think of this version of events that they are trying to describe as to how Kendrick lost his life that day?
I think they just think we're just pretty ignorant for us to even to believe that my child would do something that a first grader might do.
Let me ask you this question, Jackie. Before there was counterclaims and all the rest of that, at the very, very beginning, when this was first explained to you, did you ever believe that that was possible, that that's how he died?
Never.
So when they gave you that as their theory, what was your response?
That's a lie. Somebody killed my child.
But you wasn't aware of any arguments, any problems that Kendrick was having at the time?
Not at that particular moment.
Right. So, but at that time, you weren't. Forget. We're gonna come to the story later. But at that moment in time, you wasn't aware of any trouble that Kendrick had, any problems that he had with any fellow students, or any issues that might have led to somebody wanting Kendrick dead. But at the same
I just said her.
But at the same time, when they tried to give the explanation, that him falling into the mat and dying of asphyxia, or unable to breathe and unable to get himself out of that, you just knew that that explanation was too foolish to be real.
Right.
Yeah.
Kendrick lift weights on a daily basis. Kendrick ran track. Kendrick played basketball and he played football. There's no way he'd allow himself, first of all, to do nothing that dumb, and then secondly, get stuck and just stay there. Got stuck and died. They say he clipped his own nails. One child even said he allegedly ate in the mat while he was stuck in the mat. Come on, like the stories are just so.
So I take it that you guys contested that particular cause of death. So while this was going on in the initial stages, were you guys hearing of any other scenarios that might have taken place? Was there any gossip going around? Was there anything that was being fed back to you that could give you an understanding as to what that might be?
Oh yeah, we heard plenty of theories and plenty of gossip. The first one we heard was that a white girl set him up, led him into the gym, and some guys attacked him and beat him up, beat him with a weight. They say one person say they stabbed him, and another person say somebody put him in the chokehold after they beat him up and allowed the people to continue to beat him. There's just so many different stories out.
So I take it that the gossip was wide, the rumors were wild.
Oh yeah.
And all sorts of stories started to come out. Was anybody in particular being put in the picture as to who the suspect might be, who was responsible, or suspects?
At first it wasn't, but then they tried to make like it was gang related. It was all this, and then they was trying to say it was this black guy that they were fucking with on Facebook and all kind of stuff, just ridiculous stuff, except the stuff that was the truth.
I mean, he fell into the mat while looking for a shoe and he was unable to get out. And I believe there was up to at least 3 students who told investigators that it was actually common for students to store their shoes behind or under the rolled up mats.
Yes.
Was Kendrick wearing any shoes when his body was found?
No, he wasn't.
Where was his shoes found? If
the ones that he wore into the gym was rolled up in the mat with him, pinned under his legs.
So if the shoes that he wore when he walked into the gym was pinned under his legs in the rolled up mat that he climbed in head first to retrieve the apparent shoe that fell into the bottom of the mat, wouldn't the shoe have been down by his head and not by his legs?
Okay, so there was a second pair of shoes that they were Adidas, and he had on the Griffins. So the Adidas, the one that they were like were under his head, was the shoes he took off when he got ready to go to weight training class or either PE class. So, but the ones that were on his feet, as would have been on his feet as he's going down in the mat, why were they pinned under his legs with his legs crossed? If you falling into a mat and you trying to wiggle your way out, your legs are not going to be crossed, and you're not going to take off your shoes just to go look for fall down in the mat.
Absolutely. So there is no explanation given as to how the shoes were found under his legs while he was upside down in a mat.
No logic explanation, no.
No scientific demonstration would be able to prove that to be possible.
Right. Now.
Wow. And yet you've got the sheriff's office who are trying to convince you that this is the way that he died.
This is how they're trying to convince the world. This is how Kendrick died.
I take it then at this point you hired a private pathologist. Can you
Yes.
can you tell us what the private pathologist concluded?
He concluded blunt force trauma to the right jaw, and it matched up with what the EMT said, that it was a homicide because it was bruising on his right jaw from day one when they came to the scene.
Sorry, when who came to the scene?
The EMT, the ambulance people.
Okay, so when they came to the scene, when they first retrieved Kendrick from the rolled up mat, they found bruising to his jaw, which
Yes.
your private pathologist who carried out the second autopsy confirmed was blunt force trauma.
Right, to that same side of the face.
Okay, so I suppose that would have given you an extra battle to fight. So, okay, so now we're getting closer to the fact that the authorities want you to believe that it was an accident. Your second pathologist has concluded it was homicide. What happens next, Jackie? What happened next?
They were so arrogant till they didn't even want to look at his examination. They just want to stick with what the GBI lab said.
Okay. And how long did this go on for?
Oh, this been going on for years.
Do you know, this Kendrick Johnson story is a big story. It's
Yes.
huge within the, and it's very, very unlike any of the other cases that we normally deal with as far as police brutality is concerned, because majority of the cases that we talk about normally are children who are killed by cops, right? Which is one of the biggest problems out in America is right now as far as law enforcement is concerned. But this was slightly different because Kendrick wasn't killed by cops, but there is a suspicion, there is an allegation that he may well have been killed by the sons of cops.
Yes, sons of FBI agents.
So let's just talk about the Bell brothers, shall we? Because I can remember when we tried to do this story a few years ago, on Twitter we weren't even allowed to mention them without getting banned or blocked or suspended by Twitter. And the FBI was doing everything that they could to stop us bringing the story out. But here we are again.
They allegedly still are.
Yeah, here we are again in 2018, and I'm talking about the Bell brothers because I can. Now, these boys, there's been a lot of problems in trying to get them to answer any questions whatsoever, right?
Yes, but I'm at this point where we're still in. I can't speak about them at all.
Well, I know that there's current litigations going on at the minute, and you're unable to say all the things that you would like to say. But here's a question.
Right.
Here's a question for you. And this comes from one of our listeners, right? They say, why did the police know when they first saw you that he was missing?
How did they know?
Because you went to the school. You said you went to the school.
I had filed a missing. I had filed a missing child report. I had filed a missing report.
You'd filed a missing persons report. So that's how the school would have been notified that he was missing.
Right.
Okay. So you can't talk about the Bell brothers, but I can.
Right.
And so it came to light that these boys, one of them was involved with a particular girl. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who had a thing with Kendrick. I'm not sure what you can and what you can't say, but can you explain to us what you can say?
As to what really dealing with them,
Yeah.
at this point, I won't say anything.
You can't say anything.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because if we can't say anything about the Bell brothers, let's just look at what we do have. The independent autopsy found, among other things, that Johnson's body was stuffed with newspapers. Correct?
Yes.
The funeral
Yes, it
home,
was.
the funeral home that processed the body following the autopsy, stated that they never received Kendrick's organs from the coroner. Hi, Jackie. This is going to be very difficult for us to conduct this interview because we just keep getting cut out, and I'm not sure whether we're losing her, whether we're being cut out, or whether she's losing signal. But the independent autopsy found that, among other things, that Johnson's body was stuffed with newspapers. The funeral home that processed the body following their GBI's autopsy stated that they never received Johnson's organs from the coroner. Johnson's internal organs were said to have been destroyed through natural processes and discarded by the prosector before the body was sent back to Valdosta, according to the funeral home owner. And that left a void which the funeral home filled. The funeral home owner stated that it is standard practice to fill a void in that fashion, and that cotton or sawdust may also be employed for this purpose. A subsequent investigation by Georgia Secretary of State's office found that the funeral home did not follow best practice. So it appears that the funeral home... Hi, Jackie. I'm having a ringer again. Okay. Hello, Jackie, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, we keep losing you, and I'm not sure where the interference is coming from, but we can hazard a guess. So, initially, in regards to the contents of Kendrick's body, because the vital organs were missing, it sounds like a lot of blame was being put on the funeral home rather than the pathologist who first had it on behalf of the state, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any of that you can explain to us? How that came to be? And
actually, everybody's blaming everybody. The funeral home blaming. They didn't get the clothes, and the transport guy saying that he didn't get the organs, and the GBI lab saying they sent them back to the funeral home. So it's just like everybody just blaming everybody.
And what is your understanding of what really happened as far as his organs was concerned?
From my understanding, what really happened is that the funeral home allegedly got rid of him, Kendrick's organ.
So the funeral home got rid of Kendrick's organs. Is that your belief?
Allegedly, that's my belief.
When we talk about the surveillance cameras, the CCTV cameras, can you talk about that at all?
That was at the school?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they have cameras showing Kendrick going into the gym, but yet they have no other coverage of any camera from any angle in the gym with Kendrick on it.
No, not none. Besides, when they everything is, all the footage is lost of anything else that happened to Kendrick besides him coming in the gym, and it's except when he's exiting the gym on a stretcher, when they're taking him out, all of a sudden the cameras and all come back on, and you see them rolling Kendrick out. But all the while they're doing the investigation and all that, all the cameras are down.
So the only footage of Kendrick on a school campus that is absolutely covered in cameras is him walking into the gym and him being carried out.
Yep.
Wasn't there some footage of the guys playing basketball while Kendrick was supposedly in the mat?
Yes, it was footage of them playing basketball.
So the cameras must have been on.
Had to be on.
So the cameras had to be on to get footage, because the timestamp on the video is after Kendrick went into the gym, right?
Yes.
So the cameras had to be on once Kendrick had entered the gym, because the cameras captured him entering the gym. But yet, on review of the tape, no footage of Kendrick inside that gym could be found on the footage.
None, besides them exiting him out the gym.
But they've got footage of individuals playing basketball at the time Kendrick was in the gym, rolled up inside the mat, apparently dying or dead.
Yes, they do.
Has anybody given you a time scale as to how long it would have taken Kendrick to pass out or die in that position, in that condition, rolled up in a mat?
I think at once upon a time they were trying to say how many hours it took Kendrick to die in that mat. 19 hours.
It took Kendrick 19 hours to die in the mat. 19 hours. Not 19 minutes, 19 hours. And they want you to believe that in 19 hours, nobody heard a moan, nobody heard a groan, nobody heard a yelp, nobody heard a help me, nobody heard I'm trapped, get me out of here. Not a single thing was heard in 19 hours while Kendrick breathed out his last breath.
Right. That's what they want everybody to believe.
35 cameras, I believe, covered the gym. 35 cameras that covered the area of the gym. And not one of those 35 cameras can pick up Kendrick going anywhere near the mat.
Not one?
Not one of them can pick up Kendrick climbing on the mat.
Nope.
In all your investigations and conversations and discussions that you've had since Kendrick lost his life, has it ever been suggested to you how others believe Kendrick got into the mat?
Yes. They put him in the mat, rolled him up, and stood the mat upright.
Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a professor, but that kind of sounds more realistic to me. Doesn't it sound more realistic to you?
Yes, exactly.
It sounds more possible that the only way that Kendrick could have got into that mat, and let's just go back a second. What was the diameter, the measurement of the width of the gap in the hole at the center of the mat?
The hole in the mat was 14 centimeters wide.
14 centimeters wide. And shoulder blade to shoulder blade, how thick was Kendrick?
Kendrick was 17 to 19 centimeters wide, I think they said.
So that's not what you said, that's what they said, right?
Right,
that's what they said. So they've identified through measurement, right, that Kendrick was 17 to 19 centimeters wide. So
yes,
therefore,
the coroner said this.
The coroner said
the
that.
Coroner said.
So therefore, Kendrick's 17 to 19 centimeter body could not have possibly fitted in to the 14 centimeter die gap at the center of the mat.
Right.
Impossible. And he would have had to have forcibly crunched himself up to fit in there like a lunatic.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense, Jackie, does it?
No. To this day, it just don't make no sense. How they even think that anybody would believe some crap like that.
Footage on the cameras at the gym were motion censored, wasn't they? So
no, they weren't really a motion censored. That because of the fact that we know that a guy, one of Kendrick's friends, and another guy was fighting right before Christmas in that exact corner, and they showed his mom the exact footage of the fight and everything that took place. So no, it's not motion censored. That's the lie that they told to the people. No, it's not motion censored. That's what they want people to think. But that Kendrick's friend was just fighting before the Christmas holidays in that same corner, and his mom seen the exact fight of everything that took place in that corner. So no, they wasn't a motion camera. That's what they want people to think those cameras was motion, and they was doing the little screens. No, that's just another lie they told.
You've been fighting to get the truth since the 11th of January 2013.
Yes.
Do you believe that you've ever heard the truth?
No. Never.
Do you think that you've ever heard a version of the truth?
Yes, I think I've heard a version of the truth.
But I also understand that you're not allowed to. Is the reason why you're not allowed to say so, is there an injunction out on you? Or is there a lawsuit hanging over you? Can you just not
I mean, I can talk about Kendrick, what I think happened to my child. I can talk about him, but the other people, I don't talk about them at all.
Okay.
Like I can tell, I feel like they beat Kendrick up, and I use they as to the people that murdered him. They beat Kendrick up, and it was more than one. It was more than two. It was possibly more than three. They beat Kendrick up and hold him down, and they continually beat him up. And then as my child was dying, they was like a oops, because he probably wasn't moving, and they called the big dogs in as parents and all this, and they allegedly rolled my child up in a mat and turned him upside down to say positional asphyxiation was the cause of death, which we know it wasn't, because the doctor even said his lungs was not even full or something before when they did the autopsy on Kendrick. So there's no way it was positional asphyxiation. Probably after the fact that he was in that mat and upside down, dead and upside down, yeah.
So there were some people mentioned as suspects who had a reason, a beef, suggested,ly with Kendrick, and yet I remember from the last show that we did, at first they refused to give any interview, correct?
Yes.
The people most likely to have been involved in the death of Kendrick Johnson refused to give an interview or be interviewed by the local sheriff's office, and they were supported by their family, their parents.
Yes, the people that were suspects in Kendrick's murder, yes, they were.
How does that make you feel, Jackie?
It's hurtful to know that somebody would take somebody's life for no reason. It's even hurtful that it even has been this long for you to say, admit, I did it, it happened, and face the consequences. And as a mother, you should know better. I don't care what my children have done. If my son would have taken somebody's life, you're going to have to face those consequences. I'm sorry, son. You know right from wrong. You should have. Ain't no way I'm going to bite you on taking somebody's child life. As a mother, it hurts so bad to even think that somebody is that evil, that dirty, that it ain't even worse for this person that took my child, these persons that took my child's life, and the parents that allegedly helped cover it up. You got to think, one day your child or your children or your grandchildren are going to reap the same thing that has happened to my child. Somewhere down the line, karma is going to be sitting there waiting on you.
You filed a lawsuit in regards to the history of provoking attacks on your son at school, and that one of these attacks had actually taken place in the presence of the coaching staff and employees of the school.
Yes.
Was this something that you had been aware of before Kendrick's death, or was this something that you were told afterwards?
About the fight that they had on the bus?
About the fight they had on the bus?
Yes, I was aware of the fight.
So you was aware of that before Kendrick's death, right?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, that particular night, they were going to Grayson to have a playoff. I think it was something about a playoff football game in Atlanta. So, from what we were told, the guys were cutting mama jokes. And Kendrick, he was a joker. So, you start with him, it's just like, hey, you better be ready. So, they was joking about mamas, and they said Kendrick got the best of him, and he got mad. And he turned around and he slapped Kendrick. Kendrick got up. Kendrick put him in the headlock, and Kendrick beat his tail from that. And it started from there. So the coaches, they say, soon as the bus driver alerted them, the coaches, that they were fighting, the coaches ran back there, allegedly ran back there to Kendrick and was saying all kind of stuff to Kendrick. So when Kendrick was on the way going back home, they made both of them sit out the game. So I didn't make it to the game because my truck had torn up just before I got on the road. So they let him went with his parents. But Kendrick, they made him ride back in the police car all the way from Grayson at Georgia to Adel, Georgia. So, and then they let Kendrick got back on the bus. So why was Kendrick put in the police car? He wasn't under arrest. And the lady was like, he rode in the front seat. I don't care about him riding in your front seat. He was not under arrest. He had did no more wrong than the other child. And Kendrick had family members up there in the stands that he could have went home with. So why did my child have to ride back on the bus? They was like, he was a threat to what? The threat was gone. If Kendrick had been a threat to this child, the child was gone with his parents. So why was he put in the police car like he had did a mass murder or something, even though he rode in the front seat, she say, to Adel. So if it was that much of a threat, you'd have brought him all the way back to Valdosta to hand him to his parents, not to let him get out the police car in Adel, like I'll say 20 minutes from Valdosta and to get back on the bus with the rest of the kids. That made no sense. So when Kendrick got home, this was like right before the Thanksgiving holidays. So when Kendrick got back home, the year of the fight, when Kendrick got back home, he called his dad and me and was telling us what had happened. So by the time they got back to the thing, everybody was just about leaving. So his daddy went out there to meet and talk with the coaches and stuff, but a lot of them had left by the time he got there. So when Monday morning came, I went to Coach McPherson, who is the head of Lounge High football coaches. I went to him and I let him know, when my son is with you, he's like your child. I don't care about no color or none of that. My son is your son while he is in your custody playing ball under your care. That's your son, whether he's black, white, or green, purple. And after that, I left there and I went upstairs and went to the principal. Y'all are going to do something about this fight. My son is not going to be the only somebody that's getting punished for having a fight on a school bus. Where he was like, well, most of the time we let the coaches handle. No, the coaches is not going to handle this because the police was involved. When the police got involved, it was no longer for the coaches to handle because my child rode back in the police car like he was under arrest or like he was the only somebody had an altercation on that bus. So no. So they suspended both of them. They gave them 5 days suspension from school.
They suspended him for 5 days at school.
Kendrick and the bellboy.
Okay. So there is already a history of violence, aggression, and then
yes, because from what we were told afterwards, we were told afterwards, they had got into several little altercations from middle school in the locker room, and like Kendrick was always kicking his butt because he was like an alleged bully. He was always I can remember in middle school when he was fighting this little dude, this black guy, he broke his hand. That's just how hard he was hitting the other guy. So yes, he's always been in stuff. I will say that. This is what I know. So I can't say what I know about him because he was always in some stuff, like even getting into it with other kids. But just because Kendrick never did no steroids, never did all the extra stuff, curriculums that they did and all this, and didn't have this high society gym in our home and stuff, Kendrick still was kicking your butt. And you was jealous of that. You didn't like that.
I mean, Kendrick was a very athletic guy, right? So he was
right.
He played sports, he took care of himself, but he wasn't going to take nonsense from anybody, right? So
right, he didn't bother nobody, right?
So, taking that in mind, why would somebody as actively athletic, as academically sensible as Kendrick, then try and go and put himself upside down in a gym mat?
It didn't happen. There's no way, no how. It didn't happen that way. My son was rolled up in that mat.
My 9-year-old daughter would not have tried to climb on top of a mat and climb inside it to get her shoe, let alone a 17-year-old youth who would, with common sense, logic.
Right.
Okay, so we have a history of antagonism between this bellboy and your son Kendrick. We have this situation that took place at school on a field trip, and needless to say, when you then hear that Kendrick was involved with the girlfriend of Bell, did that kind of begin to make sense to you as to how this violence escalated or could have escalated?
What got me from day one, I kind of figured it was something because of the accusation that allegedly the other bellboy had said it wasn't over.
The boy said it wasn't over.
The other Bell brother told some students, allegedly said that it wasn't over after Brian had kicked Kendrick's bus. I mean, after Kendrick had kicked Brian's butt on the bus, it was said that the other Bell brother allegedly said that it wasn't over.
So I kind of guess it would have been highly embarrassing every time they tried to kick up on Kendrick that they came out losers. So there was never...
Right, and he was so much smaller than them. I was just saying he was so much smaller than them.
I mean, to kill a child at school is a bit extreme.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Is it possible? Is it possible that this was just something that went too far?
No, I don't feel like this. I believe y'all planned this. From my belief, I believe they allegedly planned this because not only were they mad, allegedly the daddy was mad too. So no, I believe y'all planned this. Y'all planned to attack my child. No, it didn't just happen. This is something they pre-planned. They plotted to do.
Okay. Do you know, I think it becomes absolutely, apparently clear to anybody with common sense that this was a homicide, this was a killing, and the fingers point directly at the Bell brothers. Whether you can say that or not, that's fine, but I can say it, and they can come and sue me because I got nothing. Right? They can come and sue me all day long. I'm saying I believe 100% that the Bell brothers were behind the killing of Kendrick Johnson. Now, we can sit down there and scrutinize all day long. We can pick this apart, step by step, which I think we've already done. How much interference have you had in trying to get to the truth of how Kendrick died?
Everything we get and put out there is interference. Like, people were harassing some of the witnesses and people that was telling the truth about what happened to Kendrick. Like, they were either, somebody wrote a statement or something about him, they would either allegedly lock him up in jail and keep him there and harass him so much till they just, one guy just changed his whole story. He stayed in jail so much, you locked him up for telling a lie when the whole while, this is all your city have been doing is lying. So why the city of Valdosta ain't locked up the ones that had something to do with Kendrick case? You supposed to lock them up for telling a lie about what happened to Kendrick when the whole city has been lying. So why did he stay in jail for months and months, got out and got probation for telling his side of what he knew happened to Kendrick? Because he was allegedly on the hall when this happened.
Even worse still, if these boys were totally innocent in how Kendrick came to tragically losing his life on that fateful day of the 11th of January 2013, why would they refuse to give a statement or be interviewed?
That is a question that the world asks. Why, when your daddy is FBI agent and he interview people all the time, just about every case he have, he take kids and interview them. But your kids are better than the average kid.
I mean, if that was you, wouldn't you march your kids to the police station and say you ain't got a choice?
To prove they're innocent, right.
Stand alongside them, stand beside them and say, my kids are innocent. Hey, I'll go and tell them what you know, son.
Right.
But yet, they refused to give a statement. They refused to be interviewed. And their father refused to allow them to be interviewed. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what was in the paper.
And so then you've got to ask yourself, why would an FBI agent whose sons were being accused of murder refuse to allow their sons to give a statement or be interviewed, even if it was just to clear their name?
And first of all, we never even knew that they had got target letters from the Department of Justice saying they were suspects until the mother came out publicly and put it in the newspaper. We never knew that.
So it wasn't you guys or anybody involved with you that targeted them, that initiated
No.
an attack on them, that put their name in the frame. So how did their name get thrown into the hat if it wasn't done by you?
It wasn't done by us. It was done by like kids that were saying they did it. People that were at the schoolhouse of the time were allegedly saying they did it, even though that were our thoughts. I mean, the Department of Justice we didn't go to them and say that, but we didn't even know they were suspects or I had got target letters until the mother came out and said it publicly.
So the mother shot themselves in the foot by letting it be known
Yes.
that her sons were being indicted or being targeted as potential suspects for the murder of Kendrick Johnson.
Yes.
How did you feel when you saw that?
I felt we were making some progress.
Did you start to believe that the truth would now come out?
Yes, I did.
But then you started to hit a brick wall.
Right.
Time after time after time.
But after a while, you just look at it, so many other things that I already knew what the Department of Justice was going to come out and say. They never once have been in the favor of a child dying, and definitely not the manner of Kendrick died in the high school, and allegedly all these high people are involved. Definitely nobody want to take down their own instead of doing the right thing. A child was murdered, don't matter who was involved, they should go to jail, go to prison.
Absolutely. So in this time, while the Bell brothers were being put into the frame, and a scenario was being explained as to how they were responsible, what took place, and how it ended up, did anybody else ever get put into that frame? Was there any other suspects nominated as?
Yes, they had said this black guy named, what his name was, Mike? Bruce. They were trying to say he did it because it was gang and all that, but we knew it wasn't him.
And did this Moose, Mike, whatever
Bruce.
his name was, yeah, did
Bruce.
he, yeah,
We got a video of the investigation when he was hollering and crying.
right. Did this young man that was being suggested, did he ever give an interview? Did he ever give a statement?
Yes, he gave a statement. We have his statement where he was hollering and crying, saying that y'all trying to make me say that I did it, try to frame him and all kind of stuff. Yeah, we already knew it. What that wasn't so.
But there goes the commitment and the conviction of an innocent man who says, I ain't going to let you
Right.
frame me for this. I'm going to go. So
Right.
can you see where we're going here? Because if this guy, and it would have been easy for them to pin it on this guy as a gang-related crime, he goes and brings himself forward to clear his name. So why didn't the Bell brothers ever think that it was right and just in the light of a young man losing his life on school property that they should also answer the questions that were being directed at them?
I have no idea.
Did they?
Because if I was being accused of something I didn't do, I'm gonna do everything that I can to prove that I didn't do it.
Absolutely. And anybody with common sense would want to do anything
I'm gonna
within their power.
cooperate.
Absolutely.
Right.
To clear your name. But here's the thing. They have spent so much time trying to avoid giving a statement or being interviewed, that this is dragged on for everybody. And now we're no closer to getting to the truth, because if they were innocent, which none of us think that they are, but if they were innocent and they could prove that they were innocent and they would accept the interview, right, and answer the questions, then it would allow you as a family to move on and look somewhere else. Would it not?
Possibly.
Okay. But here you are, you're still stuck trying to chase these guys because they refuse to allow themselves to be interviewed.
Well, they did an interview with somebody. I don't forget who it was.
I can't remember who it was at the time, but I do remember them doing an interview that was staged, and it was stage managed. It was a friend of their father's, if I remember correctly. But let's not go there. Let's move this on a bit, shall we? Because you guys are really the victims, right? Or the victims' parents, and
Right.
yet you guys have come under great attack for trying to find the
Yes.
truth behind Kendrick's death. Tell us a little bit about the threats that have been going on more recently, Jackie.
I'll say I call them more of they little tactics, like they were trying to make like Kendrick had a baby, and then the people who are the Texas would be like telling us in detail how they killed Kendrick, and Kendrick was screaming for his life, and the person who were behind on the other who were texting me was like, yeah, my sons would never go to prison because they'll never have enough evidence, and just all kind of stuff.
Wow. So you're getting messages from people that are actually goading you.
Yes.
They're taunting you. They're harassing you, messaging
Yes.
you, and telling you that you're never going to get justice.
Yes.
How has that left you feeling?
It's to me, it's nothing, because I don't let that kind of stuff get under my skin, because I know there's nothing they can do to stop us from fighting. I know murder has no statute of limitations on it, so that's the good thing about it. But it is kind of shady that a mother or whoever it is that's sending those texts could be that evil and cruel and just have no care about nobody else's life but your own.
I mean, Jackie, you was raised to believe in fair play, right? Do the right thing and
Yes. Right.
respect and honor. And how does the way that you and your family been treated by law enforcement since you've lost your son, how does that leave you feeling about the state of the justice system in the United States of America?
It's hurtful, but it makes you know that we need to dismantle that whole police department in the city of Valdosta, the sheriff department and the city, because they're not for the people. They're not for what's right. They don't care. They even told us from these last set of messages that it just seemed like we were having a conversation. How am I having a conversation with the person that's telling me how their sons, this is what they said, their sons killed my child, and my child was screaming for his life, and nothing will be done about it? How am I having a conversation? That's them telling on their own self. It's not me.
That's them telling on their own self, but knowing that it cannot be proved. You cannot actually prove that it was them. It's just them taunting you and making your life an absolute misery. But why would anybody do that?
Pure evil. Pure evil. whomever it is just pure evil, and they have no conscience.
And they have no respect for the fact that you're still grieving for the loss of your son.
Right.
Do you know, Jackie, I remember talking to you 2 or 3 years ago when we first did this show. And I remember how humble you were then. Back then, there was a lot of work being done with Anonymous, because Anonymous was very much a part of the support network that you had back then. And I'm not sure what your support network is now, but I do know that the Kendrick Johnson support network train is huge across America now, and you get plenty of opportunity to talk and speak in public events. How do you gauge the feedback from the audience when you're talking about how you lost your son and the way that you're being treated?
I get a lot of feedback. You know, you gonna always have trolls trolling everything you do, which I don't let them bother me. They say what they want to say. It is what it is. But we know the truth coming out sooner or later about what happened to Kendrick Johnson. So, you know, it's hard, but, you know, we just know as a family, we know what we got to do for Kendrick Johnson, because Kendrick life mattered.
Absolutely. And if there's nothing else that's going to come out of this, we will prove, and it will be proven that Kendrick Johnson's life mattered, because we're going to make sure it matters. We will never give up the fight until we've received the justice. So,
right.
You know, when people go through tragedies like this, the sheer turmoil, trauma, and chaos often causes a lot of problems within the family. How has your family coped with all of this since, you know, because it's got to be pretty hectic on your lives. You're here, there and everywhere, going to meetings, protests, demonstrations, marches, doing interviews, etc. It must be a strain on your family. How have your family coped with all of this?
We take it one day at a time, and yes, it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, we have our good days, we have our bad days, just like normal, regular families. So, but one thing we know, and I don't care what else, however nothing else go, we're gonna remain as one when it comes to Kendrick Johnson. There's nothing nobody can do nor say to dismantle my family when it comes to Kendrick Johnson.
And the fortunate thing for you, it's one of the highest profile cases unsolved, especially in the black community and in the activist world. It's one of the highest profile cases, along with cases such as Serena Shim and Tamir Rice. How do you see your movement, your protests, your resilience? How do you see that going forward? What's the plan? What's the active plan to keep Kendrick Johnson's fight for justice in the public domain?
I will forever say his name. I would forever do marches to let the world know that I would not be backing down. Me and my family would not be backing down. I'm going to forever do something on his birthday to let him know every year that he still matters. We still thinking about him. We still love him. No matter, even beyond death, the love still remain the same. For his death date, I was always protest, and I will always stand with the other families and always let them know that no matter who by your side, you still make a difference when you say your name, child's name, when you keep putting it out there, keep talking to people, keep telling somebody every day different. When people ask me what can they do, you can pray for my family, and you can also tell 2 or 3 people every day that don't know about Kendrick Johnson, the story of Kendrick Johnson.
How does it feel when you, as a mother who is still grieving for the loss of your son, whose death cannot be reasonably explained is constantly either being sued or attacked publicly by... How does that make you feel when they continually dismiss your need for justice for your son?
It begins to get to a point where you just tune out what's going on and you just continue to fight. I mean, everything we do, we know that it's going to be a fight from this side, and we know they better know it's going to be a fight from our side. We're not going to bite down. There's nothing, I'm going to keep stressing, there's nothing that they can do to make us give up the fight about Kendrick Johnson, because we know Kendrick Johnson was murdered. We know that's our child. And at the end of the day, if nobody is standing with me and Mr. Johnson, we're still going to stand because we were his parents. I birthed him.
Millions, and I mean millions, and at times hundreds of millions of dollars have been filed from one side to another. Answer me this question, Jackie. Will any amount of money ever cover the cost or the price of Kendrick's life?
Never. There's not one dime that can replace my child's life, because my child would never be bought with the price. My child's life would never be bought with the price.
And I mean, if people had to pay for Kendrick's life, how would you best see them pay?
I would rather see them go to prison for the rest of their life.
You see, I get that, Jackie. I totally understand that. But so many times, through so many different media organizations, they've tried to portray you as a money-grabbing, money-seeking mother who's just trying to take financial advantage of the loss of their son. What do you say to those who try to claim that you're more interested in the money than justice?
First, I would say they don't have kids, and I say second, they never lost a kid. So with all that negativity, I don't worry about it. I'm gonna keep pushing, and you can say what you want to say, how you want to say it. You can portray it how you want to portray it. But Kendrick Johnson's life matters. Just know that Kendrick Johnson's life is not based on a dime. It's based on the point that my son was murdered at Louds High School, January the 10th, 2013, and we're gonna continue to fight. It's 5 years later, and we're going to continue to fight. If it's 10 more years, we're going to continue to fight.
Just one question, well, not just one question, I've probably, and the audience have probably got many more, but what response have you had from the school from the day that Kendrick Johnson lost his life?
No response, really. All the thing they weren't worried about is the football team, and you never even gave your condolences to us.
You mean you've never had no...
You might have wrote up...
You've never had any support from them? You've never had them liaison officers come out and make sure you as a family are okay?
Nope. But I think one time who came out, Mike? The superintendent came to the day, a couple of days after Kendrick got killed at the school. He came and talked to my husband about 2 minutes. My husband said 2 seconds, and they were gone and never seen them again. And they went back and allegedly told some of the staff that I said that I didn't want nobody at Kendrick's funeral from Louds High School, which he didn't even see me. I wasn't there. I was busy trying to get myself together to get his obituary wrote up. I wasn't even at the house when he talked to my husband. So just another lie.
So although you weren't there and although they didn't see you, they claimed that you said that you didn't want anybody from the school at the funeral.
Yes.
So
that's what they told.
So does that mean that the school were advised not to go to the funeral?
Yes.
So
that's just what it means.
So those who were friends with Kendrick, who would have probably liked to have come and paid their respects, weren't allowed to go, didn't go?
Well, his friends went, but like the teachers, I think they said one high school teacher was there, and Kendrick middle school coaches was there, but not one coach from the high school was there. Not none of the principals, not the teachers.
Wow. I mean, under the circumstances, you'd have expected the school to have showed some support morally, principally.
But hold on. But hold on for this one. Just last week, one of the football team players of Lowndes High School, that same school now, got killed. The head coach, McPherson, who was the head coach when Kendrick got killed at their schoolhouse on their ground, went and spoke at this black guy's funeral. But you had nothing to say about Kendrick's funeral. You didn't even step foot in Kendrick's funeral. But just last week, you went and gave a whole speech at this young kid's funeral. But never a word about Kendrick Johnson.
Do you think that the whole thing with the FBI, the bells and all of that influence has kept people away or outside or stopped them from coming forward to telling the truth?
I think a lot of that been going on to keep people from telling the truth. Intimidation. Like, I had even one young lady that was at a job, was working there, and she told that the boy's daddy was allegedly coming and sitting in the restaurant where she was at and just watching her, trying to intimidate her to get her to be quiet.
Do you believe that those threats that you've been getting, those messages that you've been getting, those taunts that you've been getting, do you believe that they're directly from the Bells family?
I'm not going to even say that. I don't know who they're from, and it's a possibility they could be, but I don't know who they're from. But
they are trying to say that that's who they're from.
Right. That's what they're trying to perpetrate. They're from them. They are from them. Excuse me.
Wow.
Because in the text they say, my sons will never go to jail for killing your son because it's not enough evidence, and this is Mr. Bell and all that. Those are what the text say. So I'm not sure who's writing them, and so.
On June the 20th, 2016, the US DOJ announced that they would not be filing any criminal charges related to Johnson's death, stating, after extensive investigation into this tragic event, federal investigators determined that there is insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone or some group of people willfully violated Kendrick Johnson's civil rights or committed any other prosecutable federal crime. Wow. That's a statement. How does that leave you feeling, Jackie?
It's hurtful that it's just not in the city of Valdosta that people don't do their job, because these people told us sitting in the meeting that they know Kendrick's shoe was placed under his head. They know that shoe wasn't there because Kendrick's shoe that was supposedly under his head didn't have no blood on it. No nothing. And if Kendrick vomited, and Kendrick had dreads, so his dreads are gonna be drenched in blood, and it would have been all across that shoe, but that shoe was just as clean and dry. So they told us that shoe was placed there. They told us they knew something happened in that gym. So how you gonna say what you said? How you gonna say that?
It's more or less that they're trying to claim that nobody is responsible for Kendrick's death. Is that how that leaves you feeling? That they're trying to state that nobody is responsible for Kendrick's death?
No. It leaves me feeling like they just don't want to prosecute who should be prosecuted for Kendrick's death because of the people in the places that they're in, that they're akin to, and all this. You don't want to you don't want to be responsible for taking one of your own down. That's that's just how I feel.
So, what next, Jackie? Where'd you go next? I mean, at every turn you've been thwarted, at every move you've been distracted, diverted. You've had no support and no help from the powers that be that could help overturn this and make sense of this. There's been no enforcement for these two suspects to be interviewed.
Well, we have just now filed the lawsuit against what it is. We just finished, we just filed a suit against the Department of Justice. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Am I? Am I? Okay, excuse me.
That's okay.
Excuse me. Okay, I'm back.
You okay? Okay.
That's right.
Are you there, Jackie?
I am.
Okay. And also, shortly after receiving the Kendrick Johnson case, U.S. Attorney Stephen Dittelback resigned. Was there any explanation as to why he resigned?
I just feel like nobody don't want to take their own down. I'm gonna continue to say nobody don't want to take their own down because you know that Kendrick Johnson was. All of them know that Kendrick Johnson was murdered, and for us to have like 7 judges recuse themselves of the cases, how can you allow somebody not to do their job? I don't care if it's your friend, your sister, your brother. If they have committed a crime and you're the judge, you're supposed to be able to make sure you give them you're supposed to be able to do your job no matter who it is. Give them a fair trial.
Just do me a favor, Jackie. Can you turn your video off? You've just accidentally turned your video on, and it's going to interfere with the. There you go. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, got it. So you've got several judges that have recused themselves. You've got the. Sorry, where am I? Let me just get it back up here. You've got the DOJ, U.S. attorney who's resigned as soon as he was given the case.
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore resigned. I mean, does anybody not see how they are shooting themselves in the foot?
Right. I just feel, I must say again, I just feel like you don't want to take down your own when you know that something happened to Kendrick Johnson. You know Kendrick Johnson was murdered at school in one of the places that should have been the safest place for Kendrick to be in. A place where he wanted to further his education. Most kids dropped out by the time they're 16. They don't care about school. Kendrick was in school every day.
Here's the thing. Every organization and every group outside of the school and the FBI believe this to be foul play.
Yes.
And the school was Lowndes County High School in Valdosta, right? Lowndes
High School.
In Valdosta.
Yes.
Where's Valdosta? Because I don't know where that is. I'm here in the UK.
It's 3 hours from Atlanta, Georgia.
So Lowndes County High School in Valdosta, just outside Atlanta, Georgia. It's all right. I got people who are listening who just want to post that all over the place just to make sure that people know just how disgustingly this school has treated you. But, you know, we're living in a world where the right things don't always appear to be done. But I believe in a God that believes in justice. And I believe what's done in the dark will come out in the light. And sometimes it doesn't always happen in our own time. Sometimes, we got to go through stuff. And I believe that this journey that you're going through, this experience that you're having to live out, is going to be for a reason. Some real evil will be rooted out from this. And Kendrick Johnson's life will be found to have mattered. So, if you were going to leave anybody with a message, because Jackie, you have been through the mill, you have, we have mothers and we have people who listen to this show, who come on this show, whose children have been shot dead by police daily, weekly, monthly. Yours wasn't shot directly by police, but it's been covered up by the police, and they were killed by the sons of police. So it's showing what these police officers, right, are handing down to their children. And the fact that the father of these boys refused to allow them to be interviewed makes him complicit to their child's crime, in my opinion. And if at any such time these children should ever be found guilty of these crimes, their father should be stood up in the dock right next to them, taking the same sentence they take. But if there was anything that you'd want to encourage our listeners with, having heard your story, aware of other mothers who are going through similar experiences, what would that message be today, Jackie?
Mothers, please stand up and fight for your child. Stand up and fight for what people. Stand up and fight for what's right. Don't let nobody intimidate you. Don't let people disencourage you. Stand up for your child. Stand up for what's right. Me as a mother, don't let these mothers stand alone. Encourage these mothers. Let them know that you can make it. No matter how hard the fight get, no matter how people try to disencourage you, no matter how you have to continue to fight against people that has done you wrong. Stay in prayer. Continue to let the world say your child's name. And as mothers and fathers, we need more fathers to begin to stand with these mothers. So many mothers out here standing alone, and that's how they feel like the world don't care. You don't even have your own people standing with you. You don't even have the child's father. United, if we can stand, numbers will make the difference in what we go through. But if we ever get together and come together as one, you will see a whole change in the community.
That's powerful there. So if somebody wanted to come along and support you and your family and the work that you're doing for justice for Kendrick Johnson, how could they get involved? What would they do? Who would they need to contact, Jackie?
Excuse me, my sinuses don't want to drain. But if you ever want to get involved, I'm at www.jajohn.
1221.
And I'm on Jackie Kendrick Johnson at Facebook.
Okay. And you and your husband, because I've noticed that your husband does a lot of talking as well, and you guys are working as a team.
Yes.
And that's honorable to see, because you just said it. There's not enough fathers backing up the mothers on the streets.
That's right. We need those fathers out there. We need them to stand. We need their voice, because their voices are strong.
And your husband's voice is very strong out there and is often heard. What sort of support did you get from different communities and different organizations on this road?
Lately, it's not really been no help. It's just really been me and my husband and, my mother, and stuff. But you know, from all over, you have different people texting and inboxing, let me know they're still praying for us, and you know, some may donate to the GoFundMe that we have, but you know, a lot of people, I don't know, it's just like the longer the case, the more people like disappear. But then God sent a few more every time. A couple of disappear, God sends some more from all over the world. So I mean, it's just like a person. If you get sick and you stay sick for a long period of time, you may have 1,000 people around, but by the time you die, or either you about to get well, you don't have about 4 or 5 around.
You know, here's the thing. There's not a single individual that I've ever spoken to regarding this case that believes that Kendrick died by accident.
Right.
Have you come across anybody on your travels, apart from the Bells, that actually thinks that Kendrick died by accident?
I have heard like maybe, you know, some of the trolls that be on the Twitter, what you were talking about, but there's never nobody ever told me myself that they think he died of an accident.
And that says it all. The world is not full of idiots. And if everybody that you come across, and everybody that I come across, and everybody else that everybody else comes across cannot see as an accident, for the life of me, I'm absolutely stuck for words why these guys ain't being hauled in front of a judge and being forced to answer the questions as to what took place that fateful day that Kendrick Johnson lost his life. I want to thank you, Jackie, for being on the show today, but we're about run out of time. Is there anything else that you want to say before we finish?
No, thank you. Okay.
You sure?
It is. Excuse me.
That's okay.
I just want to say to the people, thank you to all the listeners. Thank you for all the support. Thank everybody for all they do. Nothing is too little. And let you know that we're going to remain in the fight. And Kendrick Johnson Lives Matter. Share his story. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And remind them daily that no matter what goes on, you can make it. Through the struggle, through the fight. Stand up. Stay woke. Wake up.
Yeah, this stuff is real. This stuff is real. Thank you very much, Jackie. We're out of time, Jackie, so I'd just like to thank you on behalf of World Jam Global Radio Issues Today and the world and audience listeners worldwide. We just want to thank you for sharing that story with us, and as Sandra Dawn says, for revitalizing interest in the case and supporting your family. Thank you very much, Jackie, and we will look forward to getting any updates as and when you're available.
Thank you.
For now, we're out of here.
Imperial Lounge presents an icon.
Reggae dancehall by the beach. To be held at Imperial Lounge, 2 to 14 High Street, Margate Seafront, Kent, CT9 180. To be held on the first Saturday of each month. Your host DJ Matt. Also rotating DJs, Roddy Boone, DJ Happy,
and Younger General.
Doors open 8 p.m. till late. Free entry all night. Music policy, reggae, dancehall, and a touch of soul. On the first Saturday of each month. Reggae dancehall by the beach. At the Imperial Lounge Margate. Do remember, you can also get VIP and Shisha booking. More info on the World Jam Global website. That's www.worldjamglobal.com. Also www.imperialloungemargate.co.uk.
See you there. Do you like music like this?
Great music all the time.
Or like this?
The music you love.
Maybe this.
Great music that makes you want to turn up the volume loud.
Or live chat like this.
Especially where human life is concerned. Surely, sooner or later, people will realize that lives actually matter.
Then you're in the right place. Keep it locked to World Jam Global, where music is harmony.
Music 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah, you're a world jam. Hotter than them. Hotter than them.
See live schedule.
1, 2, 3, swing it.
Do you have an old sound tape or your favorite cassette tape that you want converted to CD or MP3 format? Do you need a demo CD, radio ad, a DJ or even a sound system for your wedding, birthday or special occasion? Then why not get in contact with KTR Records on 07931 152 448 or check out our website on www.ktrrecords.com. We've been in business since 2004 and also undertake community projects. So for your remixes, dubplates and all your sound editing needs, why not contact KTR Records, official sponsor of World Jam Global Radio. KTR Records, coming your way.
You see, it's here. You see. New feature coming from World Jam Global Radio in 2018, World Jam Global Top 10. To vote for your favorite artist, go to twitter.com/World Jam Global or facebook.com/World Jam Global. So pick the right track where you want to have in your car, at your house, a rock. At them.
Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime.
Don't forget, next week we got Brandy Rogers live on World Jam Global Radio.
Back in the day,
that was Jackie Kendrick Johnson.
It was all about survival.
Talking about the life of Kendrick Johnson.
I had too many rivals. I was too young and foolish to stay in school. I learned my lessons in the streets. You can
join me every Saturday night
with my hands very quick on my
from 6 p.m. British Standard Time.
Girls all over
live on World Jam Global Radio with Issues Today.
So sweet.
I'm out of here.
Change the whole game has been rearranged. I'm a changed man. Don't need no gun in my hand. It ain't about being no gangster. Life is too short to spend it all.